This is the latest version of SynthMaker, version 0.1.32. This app used to be called Visual Swift, but I had to drop the name, otherwise I get rejections from Apple. So for now it's called SynthMaker, but the name might still change in the future. There are some new components with this version. Let's start with a new document. So the new component is mainly it's a filter, which I'm going to show how to use and what it does. So I'll start with MIDI input from external keyboard. Now to be quick, I'll start with one of these modules, which is a synth, and I'll connect it to the audio out. And now let's see if we hear some sound. Yeah, oh good. So these knobs are not connected to anything. When you go inside the synth, you'll see here on the left, you see these knobs don't go anywhere. And okay, so there's this delay, it's also not needed. So this synth will evolve hopefully to something more complex, and with a user interface and presets and all that. Okay, so I showed before how this oscillator works. So this synthesizer has an oscillator, then an envelope, then a chorus and a master volume. Then it goes to the audio out. These are all modules that also will evolve with time and will have a user interface. So inside the oscillator, our messages come in. This part should actually be up here, but for now it's inside the oscillator. I've showed before this table oscillator. I'll show the labels here. That works with 4 tables, and currently this mix value is set to 0, which means it's always playing this square wave, which is the first wave. If we go up here, now when we play notes, we can see the spectrum of this square wave, and you'll note that with high frequencies you have less harmonics, and they stop. It just has the number of harmonics that fit in the available bandwidth. And if you go to very low frequencies, you see there's lots of harmonics. At the moment it goes up to a maximum of 512 harmonics. After that you don't really have them, but that can be easily changed if needed. Okay, so back to this is an oscillator playing without any filter. You see the frequencies, all the harmonics go all the way, and they're not being controlled by a filter. Okay, so filter component, that's the new component, is where is it? There. I'll show the labels as well. So you have an input and an output. This is for your audio, and the output comes out filtered. You have a cutoff, and you have the Q value, which controls the resonance. So now your oscillator that comes out there, I'm going to make it go to the filter and out back, and we need to have some values. I'm going to use this. I'm going to type by hand. Let's say Q of 1 and a frequency of 1000 hertz. Okay. This spectrum is still plugged to the original one. I'm going to copy it and also show the filtered one. Okay, let's see. Filter goes there. Okay, you can see now the higher harmonics are much lower. So if I go for a high frequency, you can see that they're much higher. And now if you go for a really low frequency, okay, so you can one thing that you normally do with synthesizers is modulate this cutoff. So I'm going to put an ADSR, and I'm also going to use these knobs to control attack, decay, sustain, and release. So I'm going to control the attack actually for yeah, okay, attack and decay, maybe sustain as well. Okay, so sustain I'll leave it to 1, so the decay doesn't really matter, and I'm going to put 1 second for attack, and this is going to control our frequency. But here we would have to multiply, because our envelope comes out of the ADSR goes from 0 to 1. We need to multiply it by the range of frequencies we want it to go from. So something like let's say from 0 to 1000 hertz, or 2000, or 4000 hertz. Oops, 4000. But you don't want to start at 0 either. You normally want to add a certain frequency. Let's say 100. And now, instead of a fixed number for cutoff, we'll have these. So this will give us cutoff that starts at 100, and then it goes to 100 plus 4000. And let's see. So I don't know if that worked. It's not obvious. Let's see here. Attack, sustain. Oh, I know, the gate is not connected. So here we need to connect our gate with this RX, gate RX, because there's a gate TX on the oscillator. I'll show you just. Let's see, inside there you have your gate TX coming out of your MIDI to voices. So this will end up in all the gate RXs. Let's see now. Yeah, now it's working. You can see. So let's start with a lower frequency, like start at 10 and go to 8000. 8010. Okay, so this way of sweeping frequencies is not the best, because our ears hear in the pitch. So for that we need to use the pitch of our note rather than the frequency. Pitch is basically like the number you have on the MIDI notes, and the main difference is pitch goes like 12. You add 12 to have an octave, while with frequency you have to multiply. So for our ears it sounds more linear when you use pitch. Okay, so now we have these new components, which is the pitch RX and pitch TX. This is to simplify the schematics, so you don't have to have links going everywhere. So pitch TX here. So from here, from your MIDI to voices, you have pitch coming out as well as frequency. Okay, so now we'll be working with pitch, but at the end, because our filter works with frequency, you need to do a pitch to frequency conversion. So I'm going to take this out, put that there, and now if we connect like this, we'll have a cutoff at the frequency of our note. So the pitch of the note would come out here, convert it to frequency, and that's your cutoff. Okay, so this is better than having your fixed frequency, because you want the filter to depend on the note you play. Otherwise, when it got to higher notes on the keyboard, you wouldn't hear them. Okay, so now here we'll be doing our modulation from this pitch, same as before, but now we're adding pitch, and we'll multiply in pitch. So let's say if we wanted to go from the pitch of the note to 8 times to 8 octaves above, or let's say to 1 octave we would have 12, 2 octaves we'd have 24, 4 octaves we'd have 48, 8 octaves we'd have 96. So it sounds a bit more natural now. And another thing is, instead of a second attack, we can have here a maximum value of let's say 5. So it can go up to 5 seconds. Okay, now with the lower frequencies. So the resonance here, if we put a higher value, let's say 5, it starts to resonate at the frequency. It will amplify that frequency, which let's see if we can see it here a little bit. I'm going to make the attack a bit faster, say 3 seconds. Let's see. Okay, so you can see here there's a peak at the cutoff frequency, but this becomes more obvious if you have 2 filters, because one filter does a 12 dB attenuation, and if you have 2, it will do twice as much. Okay, let's see. Our Q goes there, and now this goes, where does it go? Instead of this, now we go after the second filter. Okay, so a bit more obvious now. You see it, the harmonics actually go above 0 dBs. Now with a low frequency. And with a very low frequency. A very high frequency would be like, Okay, now with our Q value, we could go to crazy numbers, but then you could start getting distortion. Because if it amplifies the cutoff frequency too much, it could go quite high, and you would need to somehow control the volume to prevent it from causing distortion. Like for example here, I have this master module controlling volume, but at the moment it doesn't have a user interface, so I'm going to put a knob there and connect it so it appears in front panel. So now we could actually control here the volume if we did. I think in this case it's fine. Maybe if we got very low frequencies, yeah, now I think here you might want it to lower the volume. And that's the filter component. In the future it will have at the moment it's working as a low pass filter, but in the future you'll be able to choose the type of filter: high pass, band pass, maybe some other ones.